So speaking of badass representatives, U.S. House of Representatives approves $3.5 trillion budget blueprint, also advances $1 trillion infrastructure bill, and the John Lewis Act. You just said Pelosi doesn't lose votes. Period. Yeah.
There are legitimate criticisms that I could make about Nancy Pelosi, about her politics, about the speed at which she's willing to do things, about her progressiveness. But that woman don't lose, all right?
Yeah.
That woman knows how to do her job at the very highest level, all right? And you can criticize, you can criticize her on the margins for because she doesn't agree with some of the things that you want her to agree with. But that woman knows how to do her job at such a level that you have to give her respect, and you have to sit back and just appreciate what she's ever did. For a month and a half, these 9 moderate Democratic congresspeople tried to run a game, right? For a month and a half, and they got all the media attention, they got all the talking, and all the both sides mainstream corporate media was like, oh, we don't know what's gonna happen. Yeah. Nancy Pelosi knew what was gonna happen every step of the way. There was never a point where she was flummoxed by these people.
I loved her. I loved her response when they said, "What kind of deal did you have to make with them?" And she was like, "They asked for clarification. I gave it to them."
Right? That woman don't play.
No.
Yeah. No. So now let's talk about the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack requested a massive tranche of documents from several U.S. government agencies, signaling they intend to undertake a sprawling probe of security failures and attempts to overturn the 2020 election. You said Merrick Garland better make sure his Justice Department complies with this subpoena and turns over any document they still have control over, every single damn one. Yeah, I mean, this is good news, right? What we're hearing from Benny Thompson, but now what, right?
Merrick Garland has shown a history of putting the institution ahead of justice, covering his own backside ahead of the truth. What he needs to do is comply with the subpoena in full. Many of the documents that Benny Thompson requested are currently at the DOJ. They're on the DOJ servers. They're in the DOJ file cabinets, to the extent that anybody still has file cabinets. And Merrick Garland has to take all of that information, that data, that flash drive, that hard drive, that file cabinet, and just hand it to Congress without complaints and without delay. And then the Secretary Mayorkas does. And every Biden cabinet official needs to just hand over the goods to Congress without complaints. And the ones who don't should be fired.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear media. I want to hear that they should be fired by Joe Biden, because Joe Biden should show that he has a commitment to truth and transparency and uncovering what happened on January 6th. That is the bar. That is the only bar. Comply with transparency or get your out.
Yep. Let's listen to...
You can say ass.
Yeah, ass. Yes. Ass.
You can say ass.
Balls. Okay. Representative Benny Thompson, let's listen.
Well, we have information that I can't share with you at this point, that individuals were planning in anticipation of the election not going their way. By getting access to this information, we'll be able to prove it. Clearly, the things we cited in our letter kind of lay out the predicate for what occurred. If this happened, we'll do this. If this happened, we'll do something else. So there was always a plan A, B, C, D in this process.
So, Elie, put your lawyer hat on for a minute. So Trump could exert executive privilege, but Biden has the ultimate say over Trump on whether the documents can be shared, or if doing so would compromise the presidency itself. After that, Trump could still try to go to court to stop the committee from obtaining documents from the Trump White House and testimony from people like Meadows. The question of executive privilege poses several potentially uncomfortable political scenarios for Biden. If he does assert privilege, the Democrat-led committee could pursue more extreme legal avenues to obtain the records. If he doesn't, that could set a precedent that opens his administration to expansive Republican-led probes if the GOP wins either chamber in the midterms. Explain all that to us.
It's bullcrap.
Okay.
All that is. Look, and this is what I was saying about Garland. It goes for Biden too. The reason executive privilege exists, let's start there. The reason executive privilege exists is that we understand the president needs to have the ability to have private conversations and contemplate whatever the president needs to contemplate to keep us safe and do his job. And we understand that there's some zone of conversation that if presidents thought they could get out, maybe they wouldn't say because they're worried about what happens on CNN, right? And that zone, that thing that the presidents have to be allowed to talk about, cannot include a coup. It cannot include overthrowing the government. Protecting the institution of the presidency, which is what executive privilege does, cannot include the presidency thinking, contemplating, and planning to overthrow democratic self-government, all right? As has been said many times before, the Constitution is not a suicide pact, all right? It does not require us to be deaf, dumb, and blind when people are trying to take over the government from inside the government. So A, Biden shouldn't exert executive, like he just should not do it, right?
Yeah.
B, if he does, courts shouldn't go with it because the documents that they're looking for are not part of contemplations of running the government. They're part of contemplations overthrowing the government, which are not privileged. So either way, either way, Biden shouldn't do it. Courts shouldn't allow it. It just shouldn't happen. Now, whether these, again, institutionalists, which is what Biden is, which is what Garland is, which is what many of Biden's cabinet officials are, whether or not these institutionalists can get their head out of the paper bag they live in long enough to understand that what we are talking about is a clear and present danger to democratic self-government and not the safety of their precious nameplates on their doors. If they can see that clearly, we shouldn't have these issues. Okay. If they can't see that clearly, we must vociferously demand better from them.
Yep. So speaking of accountability, a federal judge in Michigan ordered sanctions to be levied against 9 pro-Trump lawyers, including Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood, ruling in a lawsuit laden with conspiracy theories they filed last year challenging the validity of the election was a historic and profound abuse of the judicial process. She ordered them to be referred for local legal authorities in their home states for possible suspension or disbarment. She wrote, the one thing to take is to take on the charge of vindicating rights associated with an allegedly fraudulent election, another to deceive a federal court and the American people into believing their rights were infringed. This is what happened here. This was pretty blistering, wasn't it? I mean, this was, she said they abused well-established rules of litigation by making claims that were backed by neither law nor evidence, but were instead marked by speculation, conjecture, unwarranted suspicion. This case was never about fraud. It was about undermining the people's faith in our democracy and debasing the judicial process to do so. One lawyer said this sends a powerful message to attorneys everywhere: follow the rules, stick to the truth, or pay a price. I mean, this was a pretty big smackdown as these things go, wasn't it?
Right energy. That's. I mean, it's one of the few times in this entire Trumpian saga where a person in authority, a person in control of an institution, has reacted with the right level of energy, outrage, and accountability. Yeah. This is what needed to happen. There has never been a time where Sidney Powell or Lynn Wood have advanced a credible, colorable argument about the election. That did not happen once. And there are supposed to be rules preventing this kind of stuff, and the judge just explained those rules. So, excuse me. This decision was warranted, necessary. Yes, it was blistering, but that's how all of this should sound. Everything should sound blistering when we're dealing with the people who try to have a coup. Everything should be at that level.
Thank you.